14 minutes after 11 right here on Phoenix FM, and you are still tuned in to Phoenix Urban. It's now time for the book club, and my guest is here. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so my guest is Henry Ndandalika, has a book. The book is titled We Are Our Names. So before we talk about the book, we want to get to know you. Briefly tell us about yourself.
All right, it's a tricky one considering about what the book is about. Generally, I'm Henry Ndandalika. Right now, I'd like to say I'm an author, of course, and then I'm an autism advocate at the Autism Foundation. And for the last 11 years, I've been a veterinary doctor. I've been practicing vet medicine, and yeah, that's more like it. From Hunza before that, that's why I did my vet medicine. So yeah, that's about it. Grew up in Eastern Province. Not too much to say other than that. There's a lot, but then I always have to summarize it to the context.
All right, thank you so much for giving us that brief background. All right, so let's talk about your books. Your book, rather. We Are Our Names. What inspired this book, and why this title, We Are Our Names?
So the construct of book, and in order to answer that, I anticipated that question. So this is why I thought I should read out a poem. Let's start with that. The book We Are Our Names is in an attempt to explain love and to question it at the same time, to look beyond what everyone is, to ask themselves the question, who are we? And it's not so much as a declaration that we are our names, it's more or less the question that drives everyone, trying to find themselves, not in the Western context in which people imply that I'm going to find myself, and then you go there looking to be like someone else, but more introspective perspective. Who am I? Am I what I'm called? Am I that? If you look at the back of the book, there is a reference to the Eastern Province, which is where I grew up, where in the Chewas usually name themselves a fourth name after the first name they're given, the second one, and the third one. And when you feel you're an adult and you can identify as this particular type of person, you pick a name that represents what you want to become. So there is an anchorage of the book towards naming and what the name means, and if the name becomes you or you become the name. But then it's crafted now through poetry and trying to drive the questions and find within an individual the answers that they need to find themselves, if you must. And so there is, like, take for instance, the emptiness can be explained by the poem Space on page 2. So the poem Space is like, goes like space full of nothing, empty, belonging to no one. Brain and heart, fill me up, all my empty spaces. Now,
Very short and to the point.
Yes, absolutely. That's the idea. The idea is not.
Would you like to explain this?
So the idea is not to crowd people up with words and make them start trying to be like anything that you have written down. The idea is there is a point where we all start, and this is the instance of the book. Is there's a point where we all start as children, and that will be like the first poem in the book will be Welcome Child. Now you are a child who is coming from your parents, and your parents have got aspirations. The world has got aspirations, and as you keep growing, people keep hoping you become this thing. Then you develop your own hopes. But all of this is filling into a space, a gap, if you must. That thing that troubles you when you become something you're not supposed to be, when you end up in a place where you're not supposed to be, you start feeling like a draw or a pull, you're conflicted. That space. when you put the wrong thing in your space. Now, what is that space? What's that void that's within each of us that drives us? The emptiness. So this poem, Space, it calls people to feel the space within themselves. And once you, not to feel as in to feel it, put things into it, but to recognize the space. Once you recognize that space, then you can see what amount of space you have, who you can accommodate in it, what you can accommodate in it, who you want in your life, who you do not want. Because if you get something you cannot accommodate in your space, in your emptiness, and you try and make it work, you will start having all the troubles that come. So the book tries to address what's called the human condition. The human condition is our constant nature as human beings to suffer. Where you can find everything you want in life, but if you don't have enough context of self, you will still be looking, and you'll still be looking, whether it's a salary increase, whether it's a good job, or it's a beautiful wife, or it's a child. Once you have a child, now you want the child to be intelligent, you want the child to go to school, you want the child to be like the other person's child. So we keep stretching ourselves and causing pain every day. And even the richest people are suffering, the poorest people are suffering. That suffering is what the book is about. That's what inspired me. The idea that we don't exactly get to anywhere. I don't have all the answers, but I believe I have a lot of questions and a lot of context. And in that context, and with those questions, I craft poetry that speaks around that and how people grow through it to begin to believe and to love and to be happy.
Nice. All right, so we are talking to Henry Ndandalika. His book is titled We Are Our Names. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll look at another poem from your book. The poem is titled Come With Me Now. All right, so it's coming up just after this short break.
Zambia is endowed with rich tourism resources. The more you explore the naturally beautiful country, the more you realize just how unexploited the country is. Venture out to the hidden natural treasures of the Northern Circuit, where you explore the spectacular waterfalls. The Zambia Tourism Agency appreciates and cares for your memorable moments as you plan for your holidays. Call 0977 80 4475 and 211 22 9087.
Welcome back. We are still hanging out with Henry Ndandalika right here on the book club. His book is titled We Are Our Names, and it's a poetry book. So why did you put it in a poetry form? Why not just like any other?
All right, all right. So the perfect reason why I did that actually is poetry is a universal language. It allows for people to connect beyond the words. If you write a story and you explain where the person was, what they're doing, and everything, you can easily lose someone in the context of, this is not me. This is not what I don't live in a village, for instance. So if you write a storybook of someone who lives in a village, the person who is in a city will not relate. If you look at the conflicts of the world, the globe entirely, are based on things that surround us, but the typical unity that we seek is based on the idea that we have a common center as people. Whether you're black, white, this racial related, tribal related, everything, there is a center. That center cannot be spoken to if you write a novel about a tribe or culture now that center, trying to find that center requires to craft words around a unique context that poetry does the trick very well about, and narrows it down to speaking to the soul, if you can. The spirit, the inner part of the person is what we get to speak to in the process. So in the process of doing that, you craft a little nice poem that when you finish reading it, you speak from inside outwards. as the reader and not listen to the voice of the writer.
Mhm.
So it's poetry allows me, a poet, to reach into the person and speak to them directly from within.
Mhm.
So that's why I chose poetry.
All right. Let's look at the other poem. The poem is titled "Come with Me Now."
Come With Me Now is a poem on the 56th page of the book, and I will read it to you. Come with me now. I have felt from the heart an interest. I have felt, speak to mine, a heart. I have felt the longing after a goodbye. I have felt the immortality of friendship. I have glimpsed at happiness. I have glimpsed at faith. I have glimpsed at trust. I have glimpsed at love. I have seen the loneliness of the trees and suns. I have seen the dance of leaves and stars. I have seen trees and leaves fall. I have seen suns and stars fall into darkness. I have stared as the light consumed the darkness. I have stared as the light consumed the light. I have stared as darkness consumed the light. I have stared as many a road turned into dust. And here is our fate. So take my hand now.
That's what's happening on the 9th of September. All right, we'll take a short break, and then after that you explain at 15 hours at the Urban Hotel. All right, so welcome back to the book club. We Are Our Names is the title of his latest book, and his name is Henry Ndandalika. All right, so before the break, you recited a poem. Could you briefly tell us what it's all about?
The poem is broken into 4 or 5 stanzas, as it were, depending on how you look at it. The idea is, in the first, it's a "Come With Me Now" is a poem that walks us through different spaces. It can be looked at as a sad poem. It can be also a happy poem. It's sort of like you will see most of the poems in the book are crafted to allow the person to have this back and forth within themselves. If you look at the first part, it's mostly this poem speaks mostly about regret, a time or a loss, a time when you felt something that you don't have, a time that you had someone that you don't have, and the time that you had to say goodbye to someone and all that. Now, this kind of former pain that we had from the things we lose, most people do not realize that the ones that constitute the next stanza, which is now happiness, because you lost something. When you have, if you lost your phone and now you have a new phone, you will like your phone better because you lost the other one. If you have never lost and you've never not had, you cannot be satisfied in a way, because you don't know what it feels like not to have. You don't know what it feels like to lose. It's like how, if you want a more direct example, it would be how people who have parents don't realize what it feels like to not have them. When your parent dies, you wish they were alive, but only after they die. If you have never experienced the loss of a parent, for example, you will never appreciate it. If you have never lost a loved one, you never hold on to the next one. But you need to process that loss. But then the last part of it is now, the last 2 parts are more about saying that loss is part of life. Like, even stars fade, suns die, and they stop shining. Everything has got a beginning and an end. So it plants that message into you as you read. The idea that things come and go, and like seasons, we should accept them to a certain point. So when you meet the last person now in the next hand, or the next person you're going to meet, or you need to go to your next job after you fire, you need to take the hand of the new life that has presented itself, accepting that the previous one has served its purpose, gone from the beginning to its end, like everything begins and ends, to move on with courage, confidence, faith, and hope, and look into the next step into your future, rather than hold on too much to those goodbyes and to those paths that are gone. That's what the poem is about.
In total, how many poems?
There should be 104.
104.
As far as I can remember, yes. And then there is a glossary of names as well, which particularly now ingrains the concept of names in an African perspective. The last poem in the book is actually a composition of names, the Zulu names. It explains how each name speaks a meaning, and it explains how each person, when called by their name, are really saying a whole full sentence of what it means. The most common name will be in Zambia, which has a lot of meaning that people have talked about, is Mavoto, Manyando, Masuzio. It means the same thing. It means trouble. Which trouble? Where is it? And you can tell a story about it. So there is a few poems that are directly inclined towards names and their significance. There's a few things about the religious context of the book, and there is every aspect of life has been sort of summarized into a crisp poem that someone can read, and depending upon what path they are at in their life, they can relate to it. So that's about 104 poems.
All right. How long did it take you to put all these poems together? How long did it take you to write all of them?
I started writing the contents of this book in 2002. I was still in my 11th grade, I think then, and I have scribbles of them for a very long time. But until I went now last year and spoke to Acrostics Publishing, who have brilliant editing services, and then the person that is well conceptualized, so they put my thoughts together and crafted them into the way the poems sort of come out, and that's just last year. But everything has been written since 2002. That's almost since 2023. This is
19 years.
Yes.
Wow. A long time.
Yes. So yeah, that's how long it took to gather the ideas, to build the questions, to come up with the intrinsic conflicts, troubleshoot them, see what are we really doing here as people? What's that? And then not get frustrated in the process, because life can be frustrating. And whether you're trying to write a book, you're trying to understand it for yourself. I read this book for myself because I need to go back and look at what am I really doing here? What am I doing tomorrow? What's the purpose of my life? All those questions that drive us. What do I want to become? Do I have to do this or not do this? So it's crafted in a way which allows anyone from the time they are just a little over 9, maybe from teenage at 15, when you are struggling now with life and trying to become a person of yourself, to define you, you can now read this book and it can walk you through certain parts. Some poems will seem terrible to you because you haven't yet reached the time when that struggle presents to you, but you will find always something that will speak to you in your time. And
did you yourself, have you found those answers? Were you able to answer those questions that you're asking? Like, what are we doing here? What's my purpose? Were you able to find, or are you still searching and trying to find those answers?
So I would very much like to say yes, I found the answers, but I would like to explain this in a different way before I sound arrogant and dismissive. But the idea is not to find the answer. The answer is in the questions. We are meant to be, there is one of the poems that explains this. Actually the first one, Welcome Child. We are travelers through life. If you remain a traveler, because you're moving from your birth to your death, and if you are a believer of life beyond your death, then you have still to continue after that, right? So there is no finding. There is just accepting and moving and learning. It's a process. You cannot. What creates the trouble is trying to hold on to little small segments of our lives, and that creates our pain, because when that segment is taken away at its right time, we can't move. But we are supposed to be moving. We are supposed to stop drinking breast milk, start eating our own food, sleep in our own bedroom, get our own job, get our own house, start our own family if we want to, keep going like that. And it's not, we are not looking for something we need to find. We need to be going. So we need to flow. And that's the answer. The answer is in the questions. It's a journey, it's seeking, it's moving. Don't hold on. If you lose something, it's time, it is lost. Like it came to you, so it was lost. And so you forget that you didn't have it before you got it. And you assume that you have to keep it because you have it. No. Cars get old and get tattered. Phones will stop working. People will die. Marriages will stop working. Everything has got its sort of process. And when it comes to an end, we need to master the way to accept that, because it's the next door that opens to move on to the next stage of our life. And that's the answer if you might call it.
Wow, that's a beautiful one. That's an amazing one.
Thank you.
So is the book out?
Yes, it's out. And,
where can people access the book?
Okay, just spoken to Book Out. I'm trying to speak to a few other places on exclusive books if I can, and Grey Matter, so that then it can be there. We're organizing the final print of the whole lot of books that will be everywhere, so that everyone should get a copy of it. But it's out, and we are trying now to get everyone to get it. So we're just doing the final printing.
Right, so it can be found in bookstores.
Yes, across the country.
Are you doing some deliveries yourself?
Yes, not me. I actually have someone who is responsible for that. So if you go on We Are Our Names on Facebook, you will find contact numbers for people directly do that. There's also recordings of videos and concepts about it. People can also ask questions if they want to get more interest about the book before they decide whether to buy it or not, and things like that. So there is someone who's responsible for the deliveries.
On Facebook,
they'll get contact number.
How can people find the book?
There is a page. It's called We Are Our Names, which is the title of the book. So We Are Our Names on Facebook. You look it up, and then you will find the contact details, and everyone that needs a copy can always order it through the contact on Facebook, or they can. Yeah, that's good enough. There's a phone number there.
Henry, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me. It has been very nice.
All right, so that's Henry Ndandalika. His book is titled We Are Our Names. Go to Facebook and look for the page We Are Our Names. Like it and get more details on how you can buy the book. Stay tuned to Phoenix FM.